Hello everyone. So today we are going to see basic difference between list of and array as a list method in the Java. So when working with the Java, both list.of and arrays as a list are commonly used to create a list, but they have subtle difference that can cause the unexpected behavior and even crash your code. So let's see the basic difference. First one is mutability. So while working with the list.of method, the list written by the list.of is immutable. That means we cannot modify it after the creation. Any attempt to add or remove or modify the element will throw an exception, that is unsupported operation exception. For example, let's take an example here. Here we are trying to create a list using the list.of method, and later we are trying to add the element in this. So we should get the error, that is unsupported operation exception. So if I try to run this Java application, here we can see unsupported operation exception. So while working with the list.of method, we have to make sure that we cannot modify it after the creation, because the list written by this method is a immutable list. Next one is the arrays as a list. So the list written by the arrays as a list is immutable, but with some limitations. That what are the limitations? You cannot modify the list in the you cannot modify the element you can modify the element in the list, but you cannot change the size. That is nothing but we cannot add or remove the element. This is because arrays as a list return a fixed size list back by the array. So while working with the arrays as a list, what we can do is we can modify the existing element, but we cannot add or remove the element from the list. So let's take an example for this. In this example, we're going to create a list using arrays as a list. Okay. Next, we are trying to modify at the first. We have to take as a grape. Now if I try to run as a Java application, we have to save first is, let me print this out, list, save this, run as a Java application. We can see at the first index it is replaced with the grape. Now if I stretch it here, at the place of banana it is the grape. We are able to modify. Okay, now if I try to remove the zeroth this apple, let's see what will happen. Run as a Java application, we should get an error, that is unsupported operation exception. That means we cannot remove. If I try to add the element in this, right click, run as a Java application, we are getting the error unsupported operation. So here in the arrays as a list, what we can do is we can modify, but we cannot add or remove the elements. Okay. So in the list of the it is similar as this, but only difference is the modification. We can modify the element if the list is created using this arrays as a list. We cannot modify the element if the list is created using list.of. Next is the null handling. So while working with the list.of, it does not allow the null values. If we try to create a list with the null element, it will throw an error, that is null pointer exception. Let's see an example for this one as well. Here we have public static void main. Inside that, what we are going to do is, using the list of, we are trying to create a list of string, but we are providing here a null. So if I try to run this application, we should get an error, that is java.lang.null pointer exception. So make sure that while working with the list.of method, we should not have these null values. Okay. Next is arrays as a list. So arrays as a list allows the null values and handles them just like any other element. So let's try with the arrays as a list. If we're trying to add the null values, it should not give us an error. No issues will be there. If we try to run as a Java application, we should not get any error. Yep, the error is not here. Let me try to print that. It should print. It will not give us an error. You can see here. So this is also the difference, like in the list.of, while using this it will allow the null values, while using the arrays as a list it will not allow the null values. Next is the thread safety. As we have seen, the list.of will return the immutable string. So being immutable, the list written by the list.of is inherently thread safe, since no modification can occur. Now, while working with the arrays as a list, the arrays as a list is not a thread safe because it is backed by an array which can be modified in the multiple threads without the synchronization. So these are the basic difference. First one we have seen is the mutability. That means in the list written by list.of is immutable, while working with the arrays as a list it is immutable but with some limitation. Next one is the null handling. This list.of does not allow the null values, while arrays as a list allows the null values. Next one is the thread safety. So this list.of is inherently thread safe, while we go to the arrays as a list, it is not a thread safe. I'll give the link of this blog in the description. You can go through that and you can practice these differences between the list.of and arrays as a list. So if you like this video, you can hit like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.